Have you ever wondered if there's like a darker side to meditation? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If so, you're in the right place. Welcome, viewers, to the Quantum Soul channel. Today, we're diving deep into the potential downsides of meditation.
Right.
Particularly where spiritual experiences and mental health kind of intersect.
It's a crucial topic, often overlooked. The pursuit of inner peace can ironically lead to unexpected turmoil.
Exactly. We've got two fascinating sources for this deep dive.
Okay.
First, an article from Super Interessante magazine titled Bad Trip, The Disturbing Side of Meditation.
And secondly, we'll draw on insights from Ellie Wack, a licensed psychotherapist and spiritual counselor.
Okay.
His interview on the Buddha at the Gas Pump podcast is a treasure trove of personal experiences and professional observations.
Okay, let's unpack this. The Super Interessante article opens with a story about Suzanne Segal, who experienced depersonalization.
Wow.
During pregnancy, after leaving a meditation retreat.
That must have been terrifying.
Yeah, imagine feeling suddenly detached from your body and thoughts.
Right.
Like you're an observer in your own life.
Right.
That's the essence of depersonalization, and for Suzanne, it became a chronic condition.
Wow. That makes me think about Wilby Britton, a neuroscientist mentioned in the article.
Okay.
She was so alarmed by similar cases among meditators that she created a rehabilitation center specifically for them.
Wow.
Is this a sign that we're overlooking something crucial about the practice?
It's certainly raising important questions. What's fascinating is that these potential downsides aren't just a modern phenomenon. Eastern spiritual traditions like Hinduism and Buddhism have long acknowledged them.
Oh, really?
I always assumed these ancient practices were purely about peace and bliss.
There's certainly an emphasis on those states, but they also recognize the inherent complexities of the human psyche and the subtle energies at play.
Yeah.
For instance, Tibetan Buddhism has the concept of lung, referring to inner winds that can be disturbed by meditation, leading to a range of issues.
Inner winds. Could this be related to modern understandings of the nervous system? Maybe meditation, especially intense practices, could trigger dysregulation in some individuals.
That's a plausible connection. While lung has a more energetic connotation in Tibetan thought, it wouldn't be surprising if it manifested as nervous system imbalances. After all, our understanding of the mind-body connection is still evolving. What's crucial is to approach these practices with respect, acknowledging both their potential benefits and the risks.
Absolutely. This reminds me of a point the article made. The detachment from self that can trigger depersonalization is actually the goal of meditation in many traditions.
Right.
So it's like a double-edged sword.
Precisely. The pursuit of enlightenment, the transcendence of ego, involves deconstructing our sense of self. But if that process isn't navigated carefully, it can lead to a sense of fragmentation rather than liberation.
Wow. That adds a whole new layer of complexity to the conversation. Now, I'm really curious to dive into Ellie Wack's story. His journey seems to exemplify this intricate dance between seeking enlightenment and facing personal challenges.
His experiences offer valuable insights into the integration of spiritual awakening with psychological well-being.
Okay, let's start with Ellie's early spiritual explorations. The article mentioned his childhood connection to Judaism, followed by his introduction to Buddhism and meditation at Thich Nhat Hanh's Deer Park Monastery. What drew him to these practices at that stage in his life?
Interestingly, at that time, Ellie believed the mind was the pinnacle of human experience, even holding a somewhat atheistic view. His early attraction to Buddhism seems to have been more philosophical than devotional.
That seems almost ironic, considering his later experiences. Do you think his initial focus on the mind was perhaps a way of avoiding deeper emotional work?
That's an interesting perspective. It's certainly possible that his emphasis on the intellect was a defense mechanism, a way of keeping a safe distance from the messiness of emotions.
And his perspective began to shift when, despite outward success, a challenging relationship led to depression and anxiety.
Wow.
That's something so many people can relate to, striving for external achievements only to find that true happiness remains elusive.
It's a common human experience, that yearning for something deeper, a sense of meaning beyond the material world. For Ellie, this period of inner turmoil led him back to spirituality, this time through Paramahansa Yogananda's autobiography of a yogi.
This is where things take a dramatic turn.
Okay.
Ellie becomes intensely dedicated to Kriya Yoga,
Right.
a powerful meditation technique taught by Yogananda. But instead of bliss and peace, he encounters significant challenges, intense physical pain, a resurgence of ulcerative colitis, and crippling doubts about his spiritual progress.
Wow.
It seems his pursuit of enlightenment was backfiring.
It highlights the importance of a holistic approach to spiritual development. While intense practices can be transformative, they can also exacerbate underlying physical and emotional issues if not approached with caution and proper guidance.
It sounds like Ellie was pushing himself too hard, almost desperate for a breakthrough. Was this a sign that he was still seeking enlightenment from a place of ego, perhaps unconsciously seeking validation or specialness?
That's a very astute observation. The ego's desire for spiritual attainment can be incredibly subtle and insidious. It can masquerade as pure aspiration, but ultimately it's still driven by a sense of lack and separation.
This is so insightful. It's a reminder that we all need to be honest with ourselves about our motivations on the spiritual path. Before we go any further with Ellie's story, I want to quickly remind our viewers to like and subscribe to the Quantum Soul channel. And if you're finding this deep dive valuable, don't forget to share it with your friends.
Yes.
Now back to Ellie. What did he do when faced with these challenges? Did he give up on Kriya Yoga altogether?
Not entirely. He wisely chose to explore alternative healing modalities like Ayurveda and energy healing, while also seeking therapy to address his emotional issues. He was beginning to integrate a more holistic approach to well-being.
That seems like a crucial step in his journey, recognizing the interconnectedness of mind, body, and spirit.
Absolutely. It was a pivotal shift, recognizing that true healing encompasses multiple dimensions. And this shift led him to the concept of witness consciousness, as taught by Michael Singer. Have you encountered Singer's work?
Absolutely. The Untethered Soul is a modern classic for a reason. Singer's teachings on cultivating detached awareness resonated deeply with me, especially the idea of observing our thoughts and emotions without getting tangled up in them. It seems Ellie had a similar experience.
Yes, this practice provided Ellie with a new framework for his meditation practice. It allowed him to observe the arising of difficult sensations and emotions without identifying with them, creating some space for healing.
That makes me wonder, you mentioned earlier that Tibetan Buddhism has a tradition of acknowledging the darker aspects of meditation, but does it offer any tools or practices for dealing with them?
It absolutely does. In fact, many Tibetan Buddhist practices are designed specifically for working with and transforming challenging mental and emotional states. For instance, there are visualizations for purifying negative energies and cultivating positive qualities, along with mantras and breathing exercises for calming the mind and stabilizing awareness.
That makes sense. These traditions have been refining their practices for centuries. So it would be surprising if they didn't have techniques for navigating the pitfalls. It reminds us that even in the pursuit of enlightenment, we don't have to discard the tools of psychology or personal growth.
Exactly. It's about integrating wisdom from different traditions and disciplines, finding what works best for each individual. Now, as Ellie integrated this new understanding of witness consciousness and began to taper off his medication, something truly remarkable happened. He had a powerful Kundalini awakening.
Kundalini awakening. For those unfamiliar, could you explain what that entails? It sounds both intriguing and potentially overwhelming.
It can be both, indeed. Kundalini is a potent energy often described as lying dormant at the base of the spine. When awakened, it can rise upward through the energy centers of the body, leading to profound experiences, sometimes quite intense. Think of it like a surge of energy that can shake up your entire system, bringing to the surface all sorts of unresolved issues and hidden potentials.
So it's not just about bliss and light. It sounds like it can be quite a tumultuous process.
It's often described as a process of purification or even a spiritual emergency. The intensity of the Kundalini awakening can bring up deep-seated fears, traumas, and limiting beliefs, leading to a variety of physical, emotional, and psychological challenges.
That makes Ellie's experience with the resurgence of his ulcerative colitis and the intense physical pain even more understandable. It's like the Kundalini energy was stirring up everything that needed to be addressed. How did Ellie cope with this surge of energy and the intense experiences that came with it?
He experienced intense, heat-vivid visions and massive downloads of information about the nature of reality. Imagine being bombarded with insights and sensations beyond your capacity to process them.
That sounds both amazing and terrifying. It's like being plugged into a cosmic fire hose.
Yeah.
No wonder he feared he was losing his mind.
Especially given his recent work in a crisis center with people experiencing psychosis. His fear was very real. Fortunately, his friend Francis, who understood these types of spiritual experiences, connected him with Philip Weber, another seeker who had experienced a profound awakening.
That sense of community, having someone who understands and validates your experience, must have been incredibly grounding for Ellie. Did Philip offer offer any specific guidance or advice?
Philip primarily provided reassurance, confirming that Ellie's experiences aligned with a genuine awakening. This validation was crucial, helping to ease Ellie's fears and allowing him to approach the unfolding process with more trust.
This reminds me of a question that often comes up. How do we distinguish between a genuine spiritual awakening and a mental health crisis? The lines can seem blurry at times.
It's a crucial question, and there are no easy answers. Discernment is key, and often professional guidance is necessary. While profound spiritual experiences can share similarities with certain mental health conditions, they also have distinct qualities. For instance, a genuine awakening tends to lead to greater clarity, compassion, and a sense of interconnectedness, whereas a psychotic break often involves paranoia, delusion, fragmentation of the personality.
That makes sense. It's like the direction of the energy flow. Awakening expands consciousness, while psychosis tends to contract and fragment it.
That's a good way to think about it. Now, this period of intense Kundalini activity culminated in what Ellie describes as a death experience, a complete annihilation of his sense of self. He simply ceased to exist as he knew himself.
Whoa, that's heavy stuff. I'm getting chills just thinking about it. Was this experience frightening for him, or was there a sense of peace amidst the dissolution?
Ellie describes it as a state of pure death, a dropping away of everything he thought he was. While the experience itself might seem terrifying from our ego's perspective, it was ultimately liberating for him. He emerged from it in a fearless state, no longer bound by the limitations of his previous identity.
That's fascinating. It's as if the ego, with all its fears and defenses, had to completely dissolve to make way for a deeper level of awareness.
Exactly. And shortly after this death experience, Ellie had his most profound Kriya Yoga experiences yet. It was as if this process of ego death cleared the way for a deeper level of spiritual opening.
Wow, what a powerful illustration of the transformative potential of surrender. It seems the more we let go of who we think we are, the more we open to who we truly are.
That's the paradox of spiritual awakening. Now finally experiencing Kriya Yoga in its fullness, Ellie had a profound awakening experience, a sudden realization of unity and the dissolution of separation between himself and the universe. Imagine a psychological layer surrounding your physical form simply melting away.
It gives me goosebumps just imagining it. It's like finally seeing through the illusion of separateness, recognizing that we're all interconnected.
That's the essence of awakening, a direct experience of unity, a knowing that you are not separate from the universe, but rather a part of it.
It must have been incredible for Ellie to finally experience this profound sense of connection after years of seeking. Did this mark the end of his struggles?
Not quite. As we'll see, even after such a profound awakening, the journey of integration had just begun.
We've been exploring Ellie Weck's journey, a powerful testament to the fact that even after a profound awakening experience, integration is an ongoing process.
It's like climbing a mountain. Reaching the summit is a significant achievement, but then comes the descent, integrating the experience and bringing that expanded awareness back into daily life.
Exactly, and Ellie's story highlights that the path isn't always linear. He went through what he calls the got it, lost it phase, fluctuating between periods of peace and unity, and then falling back into old patterns of suffering.
This is a common experience among spiritual seekers. Awakening can offer glimpses of our true nature, but those glimpses don't instantly erase years of conditioning. It takes time and consistent effort to embody that awakened awareness fully.
It's like learning a new skill. You might have moments of brilliance, but mastery requires practice and patience. What helped Ellie navigate this challenging phase?
Interestingly, one of the things that grounded him was editing Philip Weber's book, Grace Happens, about Philip's own awakening journey.
That's fascinating. It makes me think about the power of service in integrating spiritual insights. By helping Philip shape his narrative, Ellie was also, in a way, processing his own experiences and solidifying his understanding.
Exactly. It's like the act of teaching something deepens your own understanding of it, and service, by its very nature, shifts our focus outward, helping to counter the ego's tendency towards self-absorption.
It also reminds us that we don't have to be perfectly enlightened beings to offer support to others. Sometimes simply sharing our own struggles and triumphs can be incredibly helpful to those on a similar path.
Absolutely. Vulnerability and authenticity are powerful tools for connection and healing. Now, about a year after his initial awakening, Ellie had another pivotal experience that he refers to as Yoke Day. He woke up feeling a strong connection with his higher self, which told him, "Today is the day, watch the ego die."
That's quite a message to receive first thing in the morning. Did he have any sense of what was to come?
He knew something significant was about to happen. Later that day, while reading a passage from the spiritual spiritual master Meher Baba about surrendering to the guru, he was overcome with a feeling of intense devotion.
Meher Baba, for those who might not be familiar, was an Indian spiritual master who emphasized the importance of love and surrender in the spiritual path. His teachings have resonated deeply with many seekers, including myself. What happened next for Ellie in that moment of surrender?
He felt a powerful pull at the top of his head as if his consciousness was being drawn upward, and he heard a voice clearly say, "Come." It was a profound experience of merging with something larger than himself, the yoga of consciousness.
From that day forward, he remained in a state of permanent unity. It's like he crossed a threshold, a point of no return on his spiritual evolution.
And with this shift came a clear sense of purpose. He knew he would return to therapy and begin teaching others about self-realization. But even with this newfound clarity, integration continued to unfold, particularly in his therapy practice.
What kind of challenges did he face in integrating his awakened awareness with his professional training?
He found himself caught between his extensive psychotherapy training and the intuitive wisdom arising from his awakened state. His mind might suggest following a certain protocol, while a deeper knowing guided him to do something entirely different.
That must have been unsettling, navigating that tension between the conditioned mind and the unconditioned awareness. How did he reconcile these two seemingly desperate approaches?
He sought guidance from pioneers in the field of psychology and spirituality, individuals bridging the gap between these two worlds. He connected with James Finley, a renowned Trappist monk and spiritual teacher, and received a beautiful email from Bonnie Greenwell, a transpersonal psychologist, shortly before her passing.
Those connections must have been incredibly validating and supportive during that time of transition. It speaks to the importance of finding mentors and guides who resonate with our own experiences and aspirations.
He also reached out to Dorothy Hunt, a psychotherapist and student of Carl Jung, who offered a profound perspective. She wrote, "These trainings and techniques we have are like arrows in our quiver. They are tools in our toolbox. What changes now is that we allow our true nature to emerge and choose which we will use at any given moment."
That's such a beautiful way to frame it. It's not about discarding our training or knowledge, but about letting our intuitive wisdom guide us in choosing the most appropriate tool for each situation.
Exactly. It's about integrating all aspects of ourselves, honoring both the mind and the heart. Ellie also worked with Stephen Bodian, a psychotherapist and author of The Sacred Mirror, which explores non-dual psychotherapy.
Non-dual psychotherapy. I'm intrigued. Could you elaborate on that approach?
Non-dual psychotherapy recognizes the inherent wholeness of the individual, even amidst psychological suffering. It draws on spiritual insights, particularly from non-dual traditions, to help clients recognize their true nature beyond the limitations of the ego.
So it's not about fixing or changing the individual, but about helping them see through the illusion of separation and recognize their inherent wholeness.
Precisely. It's about shifting from a problem-oriented approach to a presence-oriented approach.
That makes so much sense. It's like shifting from fighting against the current to surrendering to the flow of life.
And this is precisely what Ellie was learning to do in his work as a therapist. He was letting go of the need to control the process, trusting the wisdom arising spontaneously, even when it defied conventional approaches.
This brings us back to the heart of Ellie's story and the core message he wants to share. The integration of psychology and spirituality is essential for both personal healing and societal transformation.
Ellie is deeply concerned about the rising rates of mental illness, seeing a direct correlation between the lack of spiritual awareness and the prevalence of suffering. He believes that fostering spiritual awareness is crucial to creating a healthier society.
That resonates with me. We live in a culture that often prioritizes external achievements and material possessions, leaving many feeling empty and disconnected from a deeper sense of meaning and purpose.
And without a grounding in something larger than ourselves, something that gives life meaning and purpose, it's easy to fall into despair and hopelessness.
So what does Ellie suggest we do? How can we cultivate greater peace and understanding in a world that often feels chaotic and fragmented?
Ellie envisions a world where each individual is awake to their true nature, living from a place of love, compassion, and interconnectedness. He believes it starts with each of us cultivating inner peace and understanding, radiating that energy outward to create ripples of positive change.
It's about embodying those qualities of love, compassion, and awareness in our daily lives, in our interactions with others, and the choices we make. It's not about becoming some kind of saint or guru, but about integrating those qualities into the fabric of our everyday existence.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that we are all interconnected and that our individual actions have have ripple effects throughout the web of life.
Ellie's journey is a powerful testament to the transformative power of spiritual awakening. It's a call to explore the depths of our own being and contribute to creating a more awakened and compassionate world.
And it reminds us that while the path might be challenging at times, the rewards are immeasurable.
Well, this deep dive has certainly given us much to think about. If you're interested in learning more about Ellie Rock and his work, be sure to check out the link in the description below. And as always, remember to like and subscribe to the Quantum Soul channel. And if you found this deep dive valuable, please share it with your friends. There are 2 videos on the screen. Click on one to continue your journey.